Ghosts in Us contains serious and sometimes disturbing events and is not suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
It had the crying boy painting.
Her imaginary friend as a kid was a demon.
I looked that thing in its eyes and it changed me forever.
I absolutely believe it was like a demonic presence.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Ghosts in Us podcast. This week, we are talking about Amityville. There was no other discussion. It was always going to be Amityville, as you heard last time.
What do you have to say about Amityville?
So much. I have so much to say. It doesn't start in the 20s when the house was built like you did when we talked about the Warrens.
Mine was summarized.
It was very summarized. I have about 4 1/4 pages worth of notes ready to go. So if you're ready, let's get started. So let's introduce you to the family. We got Big Ronnie DeFeo and his wife and many children. Now, DeFeo,
nice introduction.
I don't remember when they moved in. It was like
I said it in mine.
Taylor, that was 2 weeks ago. I'm looking in time of recording. I'm sorry, I'm looking in time of release. I'm not looking in time of recording. I don't know what you said.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so we got the whole shebang family here. I'm not going to be as good at this as you are. I'm more of the interviewer. You're more of the research oriented person.
We just found out we both suck at this.
We really suck at this. I should just be really drunk and then maybe it would be a lot better.
Anyways, continue.
Anyway, okay. So Big Ronnie, or Ron DeFeo Sr., worked for his father-in-law, Michael Brigante, in a car dealership. And Michael Brigante helped DeFeo get this house. And the car dealership was a front for the mob. It was dealing with a bunch of money laundering and things like that. And
oh
yeah, so the DeFeo family, playing, they were Italian. Now that doesn't have to do with anything, but they were Italian, and they were part of this. They had ties to the mafia on both sides. So the DeFeos had ties, and so did the Brigantes. Now we have Ronnie Jr., otherwise known as Butch DeFeo. He was into drugs by the age of 17. He was also working at the dealership as well. So that's just a quick introduction to the big players. In 1974, November 13th to be exact, Ronnie DeFeo Jr. ran into a bar and cried for help as he had found that his entire family had been murdered. That includes Ron Sr., Louise, his mother, his sisters Dawn and Allison, and his brothers Mark and John Matthew. Dawn and Louise were shot in the head. John Matthew may have actually lived a little bit longer after being shot, but was probably paralyzed after the coroners had come in and looked. But he was still pronounced dead at the scene. Now, Butch DeFeo, I'm just going to call him Butch DeFeo because that's his nickname, and it's going to be a lot easier when I go back and forth between Big Ronnie and Ron DeFeo. You know what I mean? Okay. Mm-hmm. So Butch had claimed that he wasn't at home at the time of the murder. He came in and found everyone dead. Excuse me. He believes that someone had come in and systematically killed each and every one of them. Now, the rifle that they used to kill, I did not write down, unfortunately, but it's a very loud gun. And the houses on 112 Ocean Avenue, every house, I believe that's Ocean Avenue.
We're so bad at this thing.
Shut
Continue.
up. I'm having fun. I'm red in the face, but I'm having fun. Um, the houses are actually, you could throw a rock from your front door and hit somebody's window, and it wouldn't even be like a super like baseball pitch. It'd be like like a ping pong ball. I could throw it. They were literally there was a very tight knit community. That's what Amityville is. It's a very small, tight knit community. Amityville, according to Geraldine Boza, one of the DeFeo's neighbors, said that Amityville was a neighborhood where you didn't even lock your doors in 1974. Yeah. So now when the police came, there were no shell cases left behind, and apparently no neighbors had actually heard the gunshots, which when they examined the gun, impossible, because the gun has a very loud discharge.
So how did this even continue? I guess maybe you'll go into it more, but like
now, well, what's your question? I might not.
How did no one hear the gunshot?
No one knows. Not a single person can understand how no one heard a gunshot. Especially
multiple
six.
Gunshots.
Especially six. Because the gun is so loud when it goes off. Like no one understands how not a single person could have heard it. Like literally everybody in town would have had to have been gone. That's how small this area is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, a big rumor is that it was a mob hit because the DeFeos, like I said before, had ties to the mafia on both sides of the family. Again, Ronnie Sr. worked for his father-in-law, Brigante, at a car dealership, which is a front for the mob in terms of money laundering and things of that nature. No one however, when they reviewed it, no one believed it was the mob. Amityville wasn't the kind of place for crimes like this, and many mob members they believed were likely tied to the case had actually airtight alibis. One of the mobsters that they thought did it actually wasn't even in the state at the time, so he had it was that kind of alibi. Like, I'm not even in the area. I don't know how you think I could have done this.
So the son, like if it was a mob hit, the son got set up.
Well, let me keep going into it because I do talk about a confession later on. Okay. So we're going back to Big Ronnie. He actually took out a $200,000 life insurance policy. And when they went back to Butch, he believed that he could start the life that he wanted with it. Again, he was hooked on drugs and he was drinking at the age of 17. He was doing things like heroin. He got his job at the dealership, like I said, and he would actually get an allowance from his grandfather. He would be getting like money on money, so money wasn't a problem for him.
Yeah,
because he wanted to keep it in the family. He got kicked out of school. He had money from the family, like I said, and he confessed to the killing. He confessed to the killings, saying, "Once I started, I couldn't stop."
Oh.
He admitted where he put everything from shell casings to his bloody clothes, and when the police went, they found it. Every single item right where he said it was. He had acknowledged that he had done drugs that night. I believe he was doing heroin at that point. I believe it could have been, yeah, I think it was heroin.
Allegedly.
No, he was doing drugs. He was out of his mind.
Oh yeah.
He was the type of guy who wanted to be an alpha male. He would fight with his brothers. He had tension with all of his siblings. And at 3:15 a.m., he killed his family. Now we fast forward to October 1975. That is where he admitted to the killings in trial, where he claimed to have heard voices and saw a shadow following him, which he claimed to be the devil. He also claimed
he's high on drugs.
Yes. This is where he claimed he was possessed. His lawyer, William Weber, came up with the devil made me do it defense. He consulted a psychiatrist on DeFeo, showed photos of his family to Butch, and Butch had claimed that he had never seen them before in his life, the people in the photos. claimed he never
Of his-
saw his family before. That's how messed up like we're going here.
Okay.
He was found guilty in the killings, six consecutive sentences, excuse me, of 25 years to life in prison.
Yeah.
Now we go on to the Lutz family. They move in 1975 as well. Now this is about 14 months after the killings. Killings happened in 74. He's on trial, gets, his sentences in 75. The Lutz family moves in, I believe it was December of 1975.
Yes.
They were looking for a place to bring their blended family. They got a house at a bargain price for $80,000 in 1975. And if you've seen the Amityville house, again, excuse me, I'm a little burpy from my drink here. If you've seen the Amityville house, it's not a small house. It's a pretty long house, and it's kind of on like the river or the ocean. Like it's got a little bit of a view.
It's in an area where it would be a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So getting the house for $80,000, that was a complete steal to them. And they actually paid $400 extra for the remaining furniture, and that included the beds, mattresses, couches, things like that. Their two boys actually found ammunition, and it was would actually play with it until it was found by the parents. Like they found the ammunition that was stored away. Like Butch DeFeo had access to guns, he had ammunition and things like that. Like he wasn't hurting for like material possessions or money.
So, okay, were the was the siblings found in the beds when
Everybody
they
was
were
found in their
dead?
bed when they died.
And they kept the beds?
They kept the beds, bloody mattresses and all.
Just flip the mattress over and it's good as new, I guess?
Yep.
Gross. Anyways.
We are going to fast forward a little bit again. Now, mind you, the Lutzes stayed in this house for 28 days.
Yeah.
Total. 28 days total. Now, Kathy Lutz decided to have a priest bless the house from its past. We're going to go to 1979, where the priest anonymously spilled the beans of that blessing. While he was in the sewing room, it started to get very cold on a very warm day. He heard a very deep voice say, "Get out." And when he finished the blessing, he immediately told the family, "All right, we're done. I'm out of here," which should have been their sign of something's not right. Now, this priest, when he got back, he found mysterious blisters on his hands. And this is when you would see like the slime. There was slime on the wall. Like green slime would come out of the wall, like you said. Black goop, gunk, whatever would come out of all the drain, or even just the sink. Like it was in the drains. And the priest found mysterious blisters on his hand, which he thought were demonic. George Lutz started experiencing cold chills immediately. He was the only one who really experienced stuff in the house. It started affecting him directly, where he had a loss of appetite. He kept waking up at around 3:15 a.m., which, as I said earlier, was about the time that all the DeFeos were supposedly killed. Murdered.
Yeah.
While Kathy, she found a small, brightly painted red room behind a bookcase under the stairs. I believe it was in the basement, where the family dog wouldn't even go near it. She started sensing the murdered DeFeos, started having dreams of the dead Louise, and started getting dreams of her being shot. And Kathy's aunt actually came to the house, who was a nun. When she came in, she became violently ill and had to leave. Missy, their 5-year-old, is the one who first saw the pig with red eyes in the window, which she named Jody the Red-Eyed Pig. And that's
What a name.
it's believed to be the demon, I guess, of the house. Now they started to take matters into their own hands, and that was within a week of moving in. They would call they tried to call the local priest back again. They were only there for 28 days. I know I'm kind of jumping around a timeline. The 1979 is when the priest actually came out and said something, but he had to do it. He went and did it anonymously. So we're still in 1975. They tried to get this priest back for a second blessing, but he will not come back. So they attempt to bless it themselves. And that's where things start to really ramp up. Flies start to accumulate in the same room. The priest was actually like in that sewing room where he was slapped in the face weeks prior. Kathy actually levitated over the bed, and George was there to see it. Kathy looks at herself in the mirror, and her face transforms into like this old hag appearance where wrinkles just start appearing. She starts looking really saggy and things like that. That's where the slime started oozing from the walls. The black substances in the sinks and toilets started coming up. People would actually feel paralyzed or pinned down in bed when being called. So like if the kids were having a bad dream and they were calling for mom and dad, George couldn't get himself to get out of bed. He felt paralyzed, or he felt pinned down. Or vice versa. If like the kids tried to leave, they felt like they were pinned down. Let's see, where else are we? And there were nights where loud sounds like a marching band boomed through their house. George and Kathy decide to gather the kids and dogs and leave. Once in the car, George cannot get himself to leave the house. He feels like there's something that's holding him back from pressing that gas pedal and getting the hell out of there. Eventually, he overcomes out of it, and they finally bolt out of there, and they do not return to this house.
No.
People start to notice, the neighbors start to notice that the Lutz family car hasn't been there in a few weeks. And this is where Ed and Lorraine Warren come in, along with news crews. Now, Lorraine apparently didn't know which room was whose, and this is regarding to the DeFeos, like whose room was whose room when they were under the DeFeos roof. When she got to Ronnie DeFeo Jr.'s room, she said, "I have to leave. I couldn't enter." When she got to the master room, all she could say was blood, blood, blood. People start to basically invade Amityville because of how big this story has become, because it's broadcasting on news, because Ed and Lorraine Warren are there. You have all this media coming to this one location in this small town. People are going to try and check it out. People are crawling over to get on the lawn, look in the windows, things like that, because no one's living there at this point.
I think like now, isn't it like just a residential home? Someone owns it and it's private property.
Yep. I believe they changed the number of the house too, so it wasn't the same one. They've redone the eyelet windows. They replaced those, so they're not as recognizable. You can still figure out which one it is, but they tried to take precautions into changing the appearance up to try to make it look like an average home. Mm-hmm. Now, there were people calling into the news stations. One of the news reporters actually said that they would get calls from 20-year-olds trying to spend the night at the house. Many news stories were followed up there obviously for the views, because once you talk about big haunting in a small town like this, the word is going to spread fast. People are tuning in. People are trying to figure out what's going on. That's where Ed and Lorraine Warren came back with a couple of the news reporters and a few of their psychics, and seances started to be conducted. They all believed that the house was the one that possessed. I have to clean my glasses for a second. I'm getting a smudge. Excuse me. They believed that the house was possessed. And Lorraine said this is the closest to hell that she will ever get. So, this is the kind of thing that people are listening to at this time. This is the
Yeah.
closest to hell that you'll ever get. One of the news cameramen actually decided to go upstairs, and once he gets up at the very top, he doubles over in pain and says that he starts to feel severe heart palpitations. Excuse me.
One of the big things that all I could think about is because so many people know the story, when they walk in, their brains might trick them into thinking they're
Right,
experiencing
exactly. Well,
this.
right. It's that kind of, yeah, your brain is going to trick you into feeling kind of a weird thing, you know, things like that. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'll get to why in a bit. So he goes over to severe heart palpitations. Now, this is about the time where they believe that the infamous DeFeo boy photo was captured. We talked about that a little bit when we did our Ghost Photos podcast episode. Some believe
you didn't know what the.
I didn't know at the time because I don't believe I've ever seen it before that day.
Oh my God.
Just because I think I tried to distance myself from Amityville as much as I could. Now here's where the controversy comes in. Some believe that it's John Matthew, the youngest brother of the DeFeo family. But some believe it was one of the crew members from the newscasts caught in the IR of the camera. And when the picture was taken, that's how it looked.
Huh.
Now, I don't know what IR camera was like in 1975.
Yeah.
But I found that really interesting to say, like, okay, maybe.
Didn't we talk about how it could also be just like your brain is trying to make something, like you see a blob and you're like, oh, that's a
Pareidolia,
person
yeah.
right there.
People, it could be pareidolia, but people tend to believe it's one of these two typically because it does look like a person standing there, like the eyes.
But there's like something behind that little boy person too.
I understand. But this is what they were saying that they believed it was. It was either the ghost of John Matthew, the youngest brother, or one of the crew members being caught in the infrared of one of the cameras when it took a photo. Entered Dr. Hans Holzer, along with one of his trans mediums to contact spirits, Ethel Johnson Mayers. Now, he uses what he calls the Holzer method, which is basically kind of how we investigate today. It's using just equipment that we feel is essential to contacting spirits. So he would use a photo camera. He would use a bunch of Polaroids, tape recorders, and video cameras. Basically what we do today.
Yeah.
Now, at the time of bringing the case, he's bringing it back to the DeFeo murder. So when he starts investigating, he's going back to the DeFeos, not what the Lutzes experienced. Now, when he started investigating, his video camera had actually stopped working mysteriously. However, he was able to take Polaroids, and in the apparently in the undoctored photos of the bullet holes, they actually had a yellow aura around them. It kind of looks like how when you use a thermal camera, if something's super hot, it's red, or you have that yellow kind of around it. That's what it looked like. Only yellow was surrounding these bullet holes. That's the best way I can describe it to you.
Interesting.
Now, the trans medium, Ethel Johnson Mayers, had believed she had contacted a rebellious Native American chief because the house was apparently built on a burial ground, and Hans Holzer believed that this spirit is what made Ronnie DeFeo Jr., Butch DeFeo, kill his family, and this is the spirit that ran the Lutzes out of the house. Still following me?
Yes.
Okay. Your face didn't look like it was, so I just want to make sure.
No, because I'm taking it in.
Okay. Now, you said it before, and I don't remember what year the book was written. I believe it was, 70, somewhere between 75 and 79, somewhere in there. The book by Jay Anson was written. Jay Anson was sent 45 hours of taped audio conversations, and he believed he put together the most accurate chronological timeline of events in the book. Then in 1979, the movie was released and it grossed $8 million its first weekend, which would equate to $30 million today. And that's pretty good for the budget it had. This is where the second wave of mania entered the town of Amityville. The Lutz family decided to try and prove their story and take lie detector tests, in which they pass. Again, this is in the 70s. Lie detector tests were kind of taken more at, the face value than they are today, because you can fake a lie detector test.
I feel like today people don't really take it in.
No,
Like
they were taking
lie
it more.
detectors.
They were taking them at face value. Like if you're taking a lie detector test, like because they didn't know you could fake a lie detector test really
Oh, okay.
that bad. Like
I just
it's
took
easy.
that
You
wrong.
just pluck a hair or whatever, and your heart rate. It's all about keeping your calm. Anyway, they take a lie detector test and they pass. And then they start to go on talk shows and tell people about their experience and their stories. After 25 years, now we're getting closer to more modern day. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I realize now. I tried to put together a pretty decent timeline. I guess I wasn't doing that great of a job the other day. After 25 years, Butch DeFeo unburdens himself with the truth. He outright said the demon defense was a sham, which was crafted by his lawyer. Weber had actually outright said himself that he met with the Lutzes to create the whole story. The Lutzes confirmed with a reporter and play a taped conversation stating they can make movies and books off of this story, and they were quite embarrassed by this.
Yeah.
Millions were made, but the Lutz family maybe saw $300,000 about that. They're kind of estimating when I found these numbers. DeFeo, however, says that he is still not guilty of killing his family. He said his sister Dawn wanted to be a rebellious teenager or adult and free from the family. She was ready to kill for her freedom.
Go ahead.
She said, because Butch DeFeo had gone on tape and said that when you were a DeFeo, there was no chance of you ever being free because you had ties to the mafia and the mob, and you're part of that kind of crowd. So she was ready to kill for her freedom. She pressed Butch into doing it and brought the rifle to him. DeFeo admitted to being high and drunk in the basement. He heard a sound, and when he went upstairs, he smelled a smell which he didn't recognize at first, only to realize it was sulfur. Saw his mother and father killed. His sister, not Dawn, his other sister, was shot, and he found his brother shot. His sister, Dawn, is still alive at this point. This is all from him. He got into a wrestling match, got the rifle, shot her in the head. Some believe he cooperated with her into killing the family and kept the kids quiet during the murders. It still, however, doesn't explain how no one heard the gunshot sounds and how no one in the family woke up.
And when he was on trial, or like when he was talking to a psychologist or whatever, he stated like he didn't recognize his family in the photos.
He tried to play the crazy defense to get off.
Okay, yeah.
This is all crafted by Weber, his lawyer.
Jeez, what kind of fucking lawyer is this?
One to try and get his client off of jail time, trying to win the case. So here's where things start to get a little bit mucky, and we're kind of heading towards the end of my notes here. Again, it doesn't explain how no one heard the gunshot. No one's waking up. Nobody in the family are like recognizing it. Not all the bodies that were found in the beds were actually shot in bed.
So they were shot somewhere else and then dragged
They
to the
were
bed?
staged to look like they died in bed.
Why?
To look like they were killed in the house? I don't know. He claims that he was guilty of manslaughter, not murder, because he was helping his sister be free. And he admits to killing his sister, but he does not admit to killing the rest of the family. He says he remains innocent on that.
So there's a possibility that he's trying to like blame it on his sister, like his sister did it.
Yeah, he's saying that Dawn is the one who killed the family. He killed Dawn.
Now, if he admits to that, you'd think he'd try to like use self-defense as an excuse.
You can't even talk to Dawn because she's dead.
Yeah. True. So the big mystery of all of this.
And no one will ever know the answer because in March 12th, 2021, Ron DeFeo Jr. died in prison at the age of 69. His cause of death is still unknown because it was never released to the public.
I think the biggest mystery of this whole story is the gunshot sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is because no one heard it. The neighbors claim to never have heard it. Geraldine Boza was, I think, the next door neighbor when the DeFeos lived there. She never heard it. Like, no one in this town heard these gunshots. No one in this block radius, at least, heard these gunshots. And no one can figure out how the hell this happened. But the shell casings were found. The bloody clothes were found right where DeFeo said they were. He admits to killing Dawn, just not the rest of the family.
And it's not like, okay, well, they have ties to the mafia and all that.
They have ties. Again, they thought it was a mob hit at first, but it wasn't. Now,
what if they like had the body somewhere else? They killed them and then they brought them to the house and laid them in bed.
I don't know, but I don't know if they ever looked at the car, but no blood was found in the car. Maybe, I don't know.
Was there blood all over the floors? I mean,
well, that's the thing. Like he cleaned this place up. The blood is only on these mattresses.
That the Lutz family.
That the Lutz family bought. I don't know. Now that's the true crime half of this podcast episode. Now let's go back to the paranormal part of this episode. Let's talk about the Lutz's experience. Because DeFeo says everything about the demon was a sham. So we're gonna nix him out of this. Let's talk about the Lutzes. George Lutz has gone on record, and I think I said this in the last episode. He had gone on record after the movie was released and said the movie is scary, but it was nothing like experiencing the real thing. He was still adamantly talking about experiencing this stuff. Did the Lutz family actually experience this stuff? Because this is the most controversial case in American paranormal history, because every family who's lived in this house since then, no paranormal activity has been documented. Yeah. Not a single thing.
So maybe the Lutz family, just because they knew of the history of what happened there.
I don't think they did.
You don't think they knew about the murders and the house they bought?
They were moving from a different state, I think.
Oh, well, if they knew of the murders and all that, maybe they just like freaked themselves out so much that they started hallucinating.
That doesn't explain what the priest says, though.
Maybe there's gas. That's like what they're
carbon monoxide leak.
Yeah, I don't know, but that is very crazy. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around green slime oozing
from the walls, flies accumulating in the sewing room, in the window. You have black sludge. The black sludge can be explained, I think.
Yeah, I think the black sludge could have been a backup. Yeah.
Bad piping.
But how do you explain green ooze? You can't.
How you explain Kathy supposedly levitating off the bed and George seeing it? You can explain the paralysis. That's just sleep paralysis. Everybody experiences that.
The levitating off the bed, that's just based off of like word of mouth, right?
Apparently George saw it.
Okay, so that's someone seeing it, but there's no evidence.
There's no documentation on it, no.
I don't know how to take it in.
I firmly believe the Amityville Horror is not paranormal. It was something that came in. Okay, let's look at it this way. Let's say Ed and Lorraine Warren, when they came in, let's say Lorraine is for sure a psychic medium. She would be able to say blood, blood, blood because the dead bodies were found in the building, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that completely explains that. We can take that right off the board now. It doesn't explain that she didn't pick up on anything that the Lutzes heard, anything that the Lutzes saw. I feel like there would be more to it. You know what I mean?
You would think. Yeah. It's just my brain's just going back to Ed and Lorraine and how a lot of their stuff, like I could believe some of the things they experience in like some of the cases, but they over exaggerate for money to make book deals and sell the stories. Like that's stuck with me now.
Weber, the lawyer, met with DeFeo's lawyer met with the Lutzes, supposedly, admitted to creating this, and it's known as probably one of the most brilliant marketing campaigns because you're already thinking of franchises. Well, think about how many movies have come out about Amityville since then. Granted, Amityville Horror is the only one to be based on a true story, quote unquote. But Amityville has become so sensationalized about this town.
That reminds me, the Amityville Horror movie, like some of it, I'm pretty sure just some of it, not all of it, was filmed in Wisconsin.
That was the remake.
And okay, the remake. However,
the one with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, the cast would say that they were experiencing paranormal stuff while filming.
I don't know where they filmed it, though. It depends on... I never looked into where they filmed that. Ryan Reynolds has said he's experienced some stuff while filming that movie, which I think is heads down bonkers.
I've been trying to find the address for that place because I could have had an opportunity of visiting the place, and I messed up and did not sign up for makeup on that.
Dang.
But yeah, so... Yeah, the cast would say like they experience stuff too.
Yeah, that was that remake though, and that's in Wisconsin, and that's our home state, so we should figure that out.
I know it's a private residence.
Doesn't matter. Pay enough money.
What money do we have? Make it rain quarters.
Make it rain a penny.
Just one.
Make it hail. But yeah, but like. I don't think this case is paranormal. I'm on the belief system of Amityville. I think was meant to make money, to sell a book, to sell a movie, and make money. That's where I'm sitting.
And Ed and Lorraine was part of it.
But they weren't the reason that it was sold a book.
No, absolutely not. But their name getting on there, it just got them more money.
Well, because they wanted to try and get it. They wanted to have their name attached to it in some way. And again, like I said in the last episode of the podcast, Amityville in the Conjuring franchise gets 5 to 6 minutes of screen time. And then it goes straight to the Enfield poltergeist. So I think it's a case of you can't make a movie on that, or you can't sell a book on that because they really didn't do anything. Like it wasn't their case. Like the Enfield, they were there, but it wasn't like that's classified as their case. I know. I understand. I completely understand what you said, what you're about to say. But it's classified as their case.
Ay, ay, ay.
I know.
Ay, ay, ay.
And that's why they were able to make a movie about it in the Conjuring franchise. Because it's based on the cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren Amityville was not their case. I don't know
Enfield
how.
wasn't.
I don't know how it wasn't their case either, because like they seem to have done more in Amityville than they did in Enfield. I don't know. I don't understand the legalities of it, and I don't know, nor do I care. The movie is okay at best. It's actually pretty scary, but
No, I thought you and I both really liked the second Conjuring.
oh, I'm talking about Amityville, the movie.
Oh,
It still
yeah,
holds up.
Okay, it's all right. Oh my God, I'm so frustrated because
I know.
they were there for like what, an hour or something.
They were there for
to
maybe
just,
a
like,
day.
to pitch the idea of selling this story, and then when the people were hesitant about it, they're like, all right, bye. They were not part of Enfield at all.
I don't know what to tell you. Just you know.
I wonder if they like really demanded to get their name involved in Enfield just because of like how much it blew up, and they're like, okay, we really need to be like even if it
Apparently
was
they had
just a
also
quick
gone
visit.
back to that case like once or twice.
To the
because
Amityville or Enfield.
Enfield. Apparently, I
though?
think that might have been the one that they had gone back a few times because
Continue. I don't think it was that one.
I thought it was that one because they wanted to kind of keep pushing that idea. I swear it was might have been that one, but I don't know. I wasn't there, nor do I care. But yeah, that's the Amityville horror case. How do you feel about it? Leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube, or put it in your podcast catcher of choice comments section. I don't know if they have that, but you could also leave a review and put it in there while Taylor's looking at this up. I'm just leaving you your call to action.
I'm not looking it up. I was, and I was like,
All right.
too many notes.
Taylor, what do you
put it
feel
up
about
in
this?
an
How are you
edit thing.
feeling now? Your mind blown?
A little bit, yeah.
Are
They're,
you proud of my research? I know I'm not good at it, but I'm working on it.
We both suck at. No, we're both good at getting research. We both suck at presenting it.
Yeah, I tried to present this like I was still in college. So you get like your outline and that's it.
You did answer like my thoughts, or like help my thoughts of like, oh, wasn't this called a hoax? Like, wasn't this a fake thing?
Nailed it.
And some people think it's fake. Some people think it isn't. The Butch, you call him Butch?
Butch, that was his nickname. Yeah, Ronnie DeFeo Jr. was nicknamed Butch.
The way he goes back and forth, like literally back and forth on like, I didn't do it. Oh, I did do it. I was high. I was possessed. That is a story in itself.
Sorry, don't mind me. I was looking up the documentary that I was watching about this. It's free to watch on Tubi if you have that. It is hold please. Oh, that's not how you spell Amityville. It is called Famously Haunted Amityville. It's a Tubi original documentary. That was my main source because it actually interviewed some of the news reporters that were part of it. It talks to the TV reporters, the TV anchors that were part of the investigations, and like the news broadcasts when they would like go into the house. They talked to various priests about when they were talking about like the demonic possession part. They had like an exorcist come in and talk. And they also have them talking about and various different credible paranormal investigators, like I believe Hans Holzer's granddaughter, one of his relatives, his descendants is part of it as well. And I found that very interesting. So if you want to watch the thing that I looked at for a lot of this information, Famously Haunted Amityville is a pretty good documentary in my opinion.
Okay.
Tubi has become very good in my books. Very nice.
So to the listeners, I do apologize that we fumble a lot. We are trying our best.
I may fumble, I
this-
may stumble, mumble, grumble, and just all around
Vulnerable.
be humble, but I do my best.
I hope you guys actually enjoyed the little history and like storytelling of this case. Like, yeah.
Do you want to close it off, Taylor, or should I?
You.
All right. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast on your podcast catcher of choice. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. We've got a lot of investigation videos coming up. We've got a lot planned for the 2025 year. We will be taking a break probably after February. Get a little bit of a backlog backed up again for the next part in our paranormal adventures, but we've got a lot of content coming your way in the 2025 season. By the time you're hearing this, what was that?
I was going to say, if you have any ideas or topics that you want us to talk about, please share with us. And
Leave
we
them
would
in the comments down
gladly
below.
look into it.
Send us an email at ghostinus@gmail.com. I'm more than willing to open that and read it. If you have a story that you want to be shared, ghostinus@gmail.com. You can be on the show. You can just send us your story. We can read it. Does not matter. If
They
you want to
could
be
listen
anonymous,
to us butcher their story.
yeah, we do that a lot too. But by the time you're listening to this, like I was saying before, our investigation of the Old Baraboo Inn should be out at that point. So if we're going order, I believe Old Baraboo Inn should be out. You'll have seen me be terribly scared at the Boyd House, and you will have seen me be surprisingly brave at the Grand Oshkosh by myself. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in 2025, I finally get to come back in.
You're back. You're back. I filmed those while you were busy with your pregnancy and baby, and now you're back. Because we
I'm
got
excited.
a really cool investigation coming up at the time of recording. It'll be probably released after this episode. At least the first part should be out. If I decide to split it into two, we are going to be one of the first teams to go into a new location in Berlin, Wisconsin. Craig Naring of the Fox Valley Paranormal and Melissa Clevenger of Fox Valley bought this location, and they are in the process of restoring it, but we were able to go in at this point, and it's gonna be really cool. We got Mike coming in from Red Paranormal. Jimmy's coming back. There's 4 spots, baby, and 4 people. So we might split that one up into 2 parts. You might see it all in one video. I don't know. It all depends on what happens. But yeah, new spot. Officially announced. But yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on social media at Ghosts and Us everywhere. And again, if you have a story or a topic that you want us to cover, email us at ghostinus@gmail.com. If you want Taylor to butcher your name, feel free to include that in that email. I would gladly appreciate her trying to attempt that at all costs.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we will see you in the next one.